Hello again, welcome back to Cambridge Auto Sound. I'm Nathan, and as you can probably see in the back of this Mercedes Vito van, there's two rather large subwoofers in a very large ported enclosure. I'm going to jump back a few days and show you the footage that I took while the van was stripped apart and we were running wires. As with all the videos, unfortunately, it's not the most cohesive video. I started taking some footage of the sound deadening that we were doing in the doors, and then forgot to take anything, jumped to them when we were doing the wiring. Unfortunately, I don't have a media team following me around taking funny, fancy videos of me working. So it's just me with an iPhone. Let me show you the footage that I've got, shows you a bit of behind the scenes of what we did, and then I'll come back to this point and then show you around the van as it is in its finished state. Join me mid-job on this Mercedes Sprinter, no, this Mercedes Vito. Quite an interesting job, this one. It's I think it's a 24 or early 25 van. Just had two fairly thin little front speakers, and it's got tweeters up at the front of the dash. This is having a three-way front end, so we're doing a pillar build. Just printing the adapters off at the moment for the new speakers to go in the doors. But to do the sound deadening, you've got to take this inner panel off, which means undoing the window, sliding the window up, taping it up. But then you've got to drill all these rivets out. There's 12 on each door panel, which is fun. What? Right, door's finally stripped apart and ready for sound deadening, and you can see why it needs sound deadening, because it's a bit of an empty oil drum inside there, a couple of lines of the manufacturer spray on sound deadening, which doesn't really do a fat lot. The other side's all done, and it makes a massive difference to the inside of this door. Doing the sound deadening that we're doing, so I'll get that rolled on. That's going to go on the outer skin, then some on the back of the plastic door membrane, some on the outside of the plastic door membrane, and then we'll do the back of the door card as well. I like this part of the job because it's starting to get back together and things aren't looking quite so messy, and we've fired the system up and it plays, so we're on the right track. Let's explain what we've got in the vehicle. So first of all, we've got these pillars, and I'll run through the speakers on the bench and show you them, because these are the new Audison Voces and they're pretty little things. In particular, the lovely metal grills now look extremely classy, similar to their Thesis line. Similar to kind of like a Mercedes Burmester look or the Morel look, but yeah, much classier than the old Voces. They definitely feel a good step above the old line, just in terms of their construction, if nothing else. Haven't really got into the weeds of what they sound like just yet, because like I say, I've only just started the system up. But we've got the AV 1.1s on the pillar, and then the AV3 on the pillar. So that's a 1.1 inch and a 3 inch mid-range. And then in the doors, we have got their 6 AV, I think it's AV6 or 6.5P. So it's the bigger magnet version, slightly more power handling, larger voice coil. They do a S as well, that's a smaller magnet and a smaller voice coil, but these are the big ones. And it was tight getting these in terms of the magnet to the window and specifically the rail the window regulator was pretty tight. So we've made these adapters, and they're actually angled out, so they're deeper at the bottom than they are at the top. The old ones were pointing down into the footwell a bit more. Whether or not that will make a difference to the sound, we'll see, but it's definitely not going to hurt it. And it just meant we could get the magnet a little bit further away from that window regulator. Amplification, it was quite a nice job to wire up actually, because with the seat bases out, you've got great access to do all the wiring from the battery. We've had all this mat out as well and done extra sound deadening under here. Customer, it's got to be said, had done a good job of already sound deadening all the back end, roof lining, everything, but he hadn't done anything up the front and hadn't done anything in the doors. But yeah, all the matting's been out, extra sound deadening underneath, and then wiring up from the battery to the amplifiers was then nice and simple, bringing it over the centre tunnel. You've then got good access to all the plastic conduiting that goes up to the pillars. So yeah, one of the nicer jobs to wire up, and you can get access to both sides of the amplifiers before we then drop the seat base back over it and hide it all away. There's an access panel, you'll see at the end. I'll do another video just rounding it all up when the van's back together and all cleaned. So you won't see those, but there'll be a little pop access panel off the side of the seat base. In terms of the amplification, we have got the Helix M Six DSP, so that's a 6x100 amp with a 10 channel DSP in it. We've then got the M One X, which in the configuration we're running it is going to be at 1000 watts, 1 ohm. We've then got the BT HD Streamer, so we can do direct connection into the DSP and amplifier and bypass the Mercedes system. And that's it for the amplification at the moment. We've run wires, so we can add another amplifier in the future to run some rear speakers and also bridge the mid basses if we want to. We can add a 4-channel, pinch then 2 of those channels for the rears, and then use that 4-channel to bridge for the mid basses. But we haven't done that at the moment. We'll see how the customer gets on with it. This was sort of his specification. We had specified slightly different amps, and then I thought those were the ones he was going to go for, but a slight miscommunication, and he ended up getting the equipment himself. So these are the ones we've ended up with. They sound great, but I'd initially spec'd the P6 range just to, I think, get the most out of the Voce speakers, but when it's all tuned up, I'm sure it will sound great. We'll see how we go. Yeah, door cards are ready to go back on. I've literally just left those off so I could show what they look like. Amplifiers are all in. Power wiring's looking tiny bit messy at the moment because there's a bracket that then fits inside the other seat base that once that seat base is on, that will get fixed up. Controller mount, it's worth showing you that, but without turning round, you don't get to see the party piece of this, and that's the massive double 12-inch ported sub box. So we've cut away part of the bulkhead. That was at the customer's request. We were kind of spent a while speccing this and deciding where everything was going to go. There's normally a set of seats in here as well. He took all that out, so we had plenty of room to work. And we used part of the cut off of the bulkhead to make sure that the speaker doesn't protrude out any further than the old bulkhead did. I know it looks like they do, but the bulkhead actually bowed out from that point. So we've had it in. I know for a fact that the grille is no further out than the old bulkhead was, which means when the seats are in, I know that the seats aren't going to then foul on the grills. So what have we got in here? We've got the Wavtech Thinpro 12, or 2 of them in fact, with their optional grills. Another little slight moan that I think for the price point the grills should probably be included. But they play very loud. It's 56 litre enclosure with then a 1.218 metre port tuned at 28 Hertz. So I'll show you from the back how big the box is. It's not massively deep actually, that's the good thing with these subs. And then Daniel's built all these kind of then vanity bits that go around it to block off. I know it looks like we've cut a very large hole out of it, and we probably should have cut a smaller hole, but there was a lot of, see like this crease and detailing in it. There was lots of funny detailing bits in it, so anywhere we would have cut it, it would have been really messy to then try and finish off. So we found the only bit of flat surface down there, and we had to bring it to that point, which is why it looks a little bit wider than maybe I would have wanted it, and that probably looks normal, but that was just the only place to cut it. And then that's why we've got these extra filling pieces screwed in as well, just to kind of help give this a little bit of extra rigidity, although it is a very thin plastic panel. We haven't finished anything off on the plastic panel because he's going to take that back out and have it all trimmed in Alcantara or suede or something, which he will do at a later date. So we've finished that off exactly to what he required, and it is all sealed in there, so at least no noise from the, this is going to be a posh mountain bike van, but no noise from this back end will kind of resonate into the cabin at all. It is all still a sealed place. And then the controller, you've recognised this, Helix Conductor. Nice little place for it just there with a little 3D printed Alcantara wrapped, or Milano, it's not actually Alcantara, but Milano wrapped with a tiny bit of green dust there. I'm going to take this out, it's been dusty in here as we've been working, but it's going to get a good clean inside and out before it goes back to the customer. Nice look at those pillars again, a few fingerprints where we've been putting them in, but this bit is separate, so this came off and that gets wrapped separately. There's also another little plastic bit invisible to, or impossible to see, that we haven't wrapped, but that's a darker plastic that matches the dash. But then this and this were both a light plastic that we've wrapped, and I think they look pretty slick. But anyway, that's it. While we're putting the car back together, I'll do another video at the end, obviously when it is back together and it's all tuned, and let you know what it sounds like. Right, so it's a little bit windy outside, so apologies for the shutter door rattling if you can hear that. Let me grab the camera now and show you what we've got inside the vehicle. I've got the speakers laid out here, so have a quick look at these first actually. So I've borrowed these speakers out of another set that we've got on the shelf, just so you can see them, but because obviously these ones are installed in the car already. So we've got the old door speakers, and we made up the adapters for those, as you could see in the behind the scenes section. Angled those out a little bit more because these were initially pointing down at the floor and they had not much of a magnet on them. So to fit these absolute monsters, which they are monsters, they're big, they're heavy, and it's a nice wide magnet. To get those to go in exactly where we needed them to, we had to space out and angle that adapter slightly. They play quite nicely in the door. Like with all door applications, they don't play maybe as well as they could if they were in a sealed enclosure or in the kick somewhere, but they do what we need to in this application. I'll talk more about the tuning and stuff in a minute. But yeah, they're a big chunky speaker. Arguably you'd probably fit the S in there easier, but these ones, we've got them in there. Mid-range, this van didn't actually have a mid-range. This was the center speaker, and nicely, I took a picture of this as soon as I took the grill off it. There's two speakers behind the center grill. Both of them had got the center pushed in already, so someone's been behind there and been a bit clumsy with their fingers. One of the speakers that's still in place, I think, is the SOS speaker, and that was then, this was the mid-range, or acting as the mid-range, like a center speaker on the dash, just to bring that vocal performance up a bit. So we've fitted then the Audison Voce 3-inch, that's the little box that it comes in. Lovely little speaker, tiny little thing. It doesn't even have full kind of holes on it for mounting, but when the grill's on as well, that all holds that back. They say this is 20% smaller than the old Voce speaker, and I can believe them. The cone still measures 3 inches, but the actual surround and everything is much smaller, so you can fit this into tiny little places that maybe you couldn't have quite fitted the other one. Performs really well at the moment. It's still running in a bit. We'll probably have this van back a bit for another tune at some point, but I've got those playing down to about 250 hertz at the moment, and they seem perfectly happy. They'd probably play lower. I spoke to one of the distributors, and he said they've played those down to like 175 in a car where you're maybe not pushing the volume limits quite as much. But yeah, ultimately a 3-inch, probably happiest around 250. There is a 4-inch of these coming out, I'm told, in the future. I'm quite excited to try that, especially in my car. But yeah, so we've got mid-ranges on the pillars, like you saw. And then the tweeters, these were the tiny little tweeters that barely played any level actually, and were very, very high end, just the kind of tiniest little bits. It was the mid-range that was actually doing most of the sound up on the dash, and these were just a little bit of kind of high-end fill-in. And now we've got these 1.1 inch, I think that's 28 mil, Voce AV 1.12, nice easy name to remember, that have got a fly lead attached to them already, and that rather sexy metal grille that I just love, and I think that makes the whole set. So that's what's in the car. You've seen where they are. The Wavtech subs, they are in the back, and there's a little bit of light illuminating those so you can see them with the grills covering those. So that's the equipment. The cabin, now it's all back together, a bit of a tidier place than when you last saw it. Door cards on, so obviously you can't see the mid-ranges behind those, but I've spent a hell of a lot of time with various lights and looking down through. This panel comes off, which is quite handy, so you can see down. I know that the face of that speaker hasn't got any interference with that grille, even when it's kind of pumping away, pumping its mid-bass and it's excursioning. When the cone's moving out, it's not touching the back of the grille still. So it was fine tolerances of getting it to the point where it's not touching the window regulator, it's not touching the window, but also it's not too far forwards that it's touching the back of the grille. Bit of a mess around, but now we've got those adapters on file. That'll be nice and easy for if we ever do one of these again in the future. And these pillars have just come out super nice. I'm really happy with these. Customer actually came in and saw it today. He was also very pleased. A new kind of anthracite colour of Milano, so it's not Alcantara. It's a knockoff or a cheaper or easier to work with alternative, but it looks extremely kind of high quality to my eye in the flesh anyway. I don't quite know how it's shown up on camera. The camera always does funny things with shades and little lighting details, but in the flesh they're looking super smooth. The head unit, we are taking a high level feed from that into the amplifiers. The amplifiers are hidden down under this seat, so if I can do it with one hand, which I probably can't. Okay, it definitely needed two hands. Once that covers off, the amplifiers sit nice and snug under there. There's a little light on the front of the amplifiers. It's a shame you can't see those really, but yeah, perfect place, super easy to wire up with all the seats and that flooring out as well. Really nice, quite a nice job to do. Bluetooth streamer sitting in there. Then if you ever get a new phone and you need to repair your phone, there's a little pair button just on the front of it. So that'll be very occasional use, like I say, as and when you're changing an iPhone or an Android phone, maybe. Day-to-day use, you're not going to go anywhere near that. But the way the system works is if you're just jumping in the van on a daily basis for a short trip, obviously your phone will connect wirelessly to the head unit, CarPlay or Android Auto this has got. That high level output was relatively clean actually. It was rolling off at the high end, around the kind of 10,000 hertz. And we can try and boost that a little bit, but if there's no signal there, it's just you can't boost what isn't there really. So yeah, it lacks the highs a little bit, but it was fairly linear and it had good bass information, which was surprising, bearing in mind how small these little speakers are, and they haven't got a cap on those. So usually when there's small little speakers like this, the actual head unit is rolling off the bass quite a lot to protect the crappy door speakers. In this instance, it wasn't too bad. It rolls off right at the bottom end, like around 35 hertz or so, 30 hertz I think it was. So you do get a bit of extra bass when you're playing from the Bluetooth streamer, but yeah, it wasn't too bad for just daily listening. We've tuned it so it sounds there or thereabouts, okay? But the benefit of the Bluetooth streamer, obviously, is when you're on that longer journey, like you're in the car for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour or whatever, you can then just on your phone select, instead of playing to the CarPlay, you just open up your music app and change the Bluetooth destination to BT HD Streamer. And then when it's playing to that, it's then a direct feed from this BT streamer optically into this amplifier. So you're then bypassing all of the Mercedes system, bypassing all of their EQ, all of their high-end roll-off, all of their bass roll-off, and just getting a nice flat signal from your phone into this BT streamer directly into this amp. And then from that amp, obviously, out to the speakers. So that's like your kind of special, luxurious music listening experience. But for day-to-day, it's, I'd say, 85, 90% in terms of the quality out of that. And then if you want to just step it up to 100%, you just connect to the HD streamer. You still get all your calls. If your phone rings, you can still press answer on the steering wheel when it comes through to the head unit, no problem at all. I'll show you around the other side. There's the controller hidden around there as well. We've got the various boxes and bits of trim and bits of sound deadening that we haven't used because he's supplied his own sound deadening and stuff. So that's all to go back to the customer for if he ever puts this van back to standard. Although he said he's planning on keeping this around 10 years or so probably won't bother at that point. It's gone dark at the moment, so can I get it to wake up? There's your controller. I think you could see it slightly nicer in the room with the lighting that was in there. The same Milano suede in that dark grey anthracite colour, just filling that gap in. And that falls really nicely to hand, that when you're sitting in the car, you can see it from kind of just moving your head very slightly, just falls easily to hand. You don't have to kind of take your eyes off the road or anything. You can just do it by feel, really. Although it has got LEDs on there, the way I personally use mine in the car is once you're familiar with it, you don't even look at it, you just grab it, use it, and then you can hear when the volume's going up and you can hear when the sub's going up. You just press it once and that's your sub level. So you don't necessarily need to look at it, but it's a good reference of knowing what level it's actually playing at. The blue is for when you're streaming to the Bluetooth. That's the volume level for your BT HD Streamer. And then the white, if that's showing up on the camera, because they look fairly similar through the screen that I'm looking at now, but that's blue, that's white. The white is the sub level, and after 5 seconds or so, that just defaults back to the Bluetooth level. Obviously, when you're using CarPlay and if you're using the head unit, then you've still got the volume control on the head unit and the volume control on the steering wheel, and there's absolutely no difference to how the system operates. It's just if you do want to use that different source, switch over to BT HD, and then you've got the volume on here. This resets to a quarter every time you turn the system off, just so you don't deafen yourself if you accidentally turn it back onto the Bluetooth HD and it's all the way up at kind of like 75 or 80% from where you were listening to it last time. Each time you turn the system off, it does reset down, so you're not going to deafen yourself. I've been told that there is an update coming to the Helix software so that it will be even more clever, because at the moment, if you're playing to the CarPlay, this will still be blue as the first option on the conductor. You have to press it to get to the bass, to the sub control. I've been told that with the update to the PC Tool 6 that's coming for Helix, there'll be I can set it up basically. So there's an EQ and a setting so that when you're listening to the high level output from the head unit, I can set this so the first main setting is actually subwoofer. Then when I switch my phone over to Bluetooth, it will automatically recognize that, hang on, there's an optical input coming in from the BT HD Streamer. I'm going to change my profile. So then I can set a separate EQ for the BT Streamer and a separate conductor setting, so that then and only then when you're playing the Bluetooth will it then flash up with the blue, so you can change the volume control, and then the second control will be the sub. And then when you go back to playing high level, it will sense, hang on, the opticals stopped playing. I'm going to then get rid of this blue lights. I'm only going to give the user the white lights because that's all they need, because they're playing directly to the CarPlay. We'll see how that works, but if it works anything like the rest of the Audio-Tech Fisher software, it will be pretty seamless and really efficient. And I think that'll be a great addition to the software, that just for those tiny little things, those little usability things, they're really thinking about how the software works and listening to installers' kind of feedback. But for now, it's set up like this, and owners are aware of that. I'll give you a demo of the sound, as always. Take it with a pinch of salt. Audison speakers, Audison Voces, what are my little thoughts on them? They look amazing. They look at their price point. I mean, the old ones sounded great, but personally I wasn't a massive fan of that kind of half cut off plastic grill that was on the tweeter, and the mid always just had like some bars across it. I'll overlay a picture of when we put them in a Yaris recently. They sounded great, but looks wise, yeah, they were kind of showing their age, I thought personally. These ones have kind of very quickly jumped up to one of my favorite looking grills, but it's not all about the looks. There's no point having a speaker look good if it sounds crap, and these do not sound crap. That's not my only review, don't worry. They're going to need a bit of running in, and I'd like to have them in my own car to kind of really assess them, but they're just effortless and laid back and easy to tune. They were a nice flat response initially, so there wasn't a hell of a lot of tuning that needed doing to them, which is what you want from a speaker. The less tuning you have to do via the DSP, the more natural the sound's going to be, because you're not artificially trying to change it, if you like. There's less processes going on. If you can just have a nice, easy listening experience from your phone into the DSP, into the amplifier, into the speaker, without trying to change and EQ it too much, then that's always going to sound the best. And yeah, they did sound really nice and natural. Initially, the tweeters I thought rolled off a little bit early. I don't know how much that's a symptom of the amplifier, because obviously this isn't the last word in amplifier quality or price point. It's a relatively entry level price point for the amplifier. These M6 or the M range of amps in general. You've got the M6 DSP that we've got here. That's a 10-channel DSP, 6-channel amplifier. They also do an M4 DSP, which I've used plenty of times as well. I've used them in enough applications that I'm confident that the amplifier sounds good, if not amazing. And I thought that the tweeter rolled off a little bit lower than I was expecting from this amplifier. I'll need to try it in other amplifiers. Obviously, each amplifier is going to be slightly different. But that was the only thing. But nothing that a little bit of tuning, a little bit of tiny little bit of boosting in the virtual channels as well, just to kind of give, it was just 12,000 hertz and upwards. And it sounds like, oh, 12,000 hertz, you don't really hear that, but it just kind of gave the tweeter that little bit more of an airy kind of feel about it. And just kind of really helped with the sound quality. But yeah, it not a criticism, but just a noticing of the kind of, maybe I was expecting it to sound really bright. I mean, they're badged as high-res speakers, but so maybe I was expecting to be super, super bright, but they're pretty laid back without any tuning. But that's it. I'm waffling way too much. That's where I've stood in the car, so there's a footprint there. I'm Nathan, this is Cambridge Auto Sound, and I'll leave you with a bit of a listening demo of the vehicle.